I always feel an element of trepidation when I talk about this, because if I don't say only positive things about Bitcoin, my social media feed blows up with the haters.
Yes.
And usually it's two sets of things. One, I'm an ignorant dinosaur, I'm too old to understand or too stupid. Or the second is I represent the system, and the system feels threatened by Bitcoin, and so of course I'm going to protect the system. And I think truthfully, people need to start this conversation by saying we can understand the technology and maybe the system behind Bitcoin, and we can understand some rationale around the method of moving money or moving value. But what we can't do, none of us, no one can actually say we know how this movie is going to end. This is not a movie that anyone's seen before. And so all of us are talking on the fly. I feel it's a bit like building a bridge while you're crossing the river. You lay a plank, you go forward, you lay a plank, you go forward, and you hope that you get to the other side. You hope you've got enough bridges, but it might fall over. So what is Bitcoin? In essence, the back end of Bitcoin is based on a technology called blockchain, and all that really does is it says that across thousands, if not millions of places in the world, there is a kind of, it almost, you want to imagine like an accountant sitting there with a book and saying, okay, Warren owns this, and it's only Warren's. And then when I sell it, the accountant says, okay, Warren sold it, and he sold it to Petrus. And then there are thousands and millions of these accountants sitting all over the place, all doing that at the same time. So that if I arrive with my gang and we go and rob the accountant of that ledger that he's got in Joburg, there are many more that I have to get on planes to go and rob all the others, and I don't even know where they all are, and I don't even know who they all are. So it's a way of saying we can track how value moves from point A to point B, or from one person to another, and it's a way of identifying that it moves and that no one can kind of corrupt it. No one can step in the middle and stop the process of identifying that movement from point A to point B. Great. I think it's a deeply valuable technology. It has application in many different aspects. So for example, a company like Walmart wants to know, when it sells an apple, it wants to know, where was that apple actually farmed? When was it picked? How did it get to the shop that it's being sold from? It wants to know all of that information, and blockchain is an incredibly helpful way for Walmart to do that. So they are doing that. You can see the applications in millions of different kinds of ways. It's not just financial. But now you add an overlay, which is, well, if we've got this, that means we can actually move value from a person in South Africa to a person in America, and we can do it like that without going through a banking system. And I think maybe to add to your comment around people who are anti-bank, they're also anti-government. They're in a position where they don't necessarily trust that governments are managing currencies correctly anymore. If you look at America, people are saying Americans are just printing money all day long, getting more and more debt, and one day that party is going to end, and it will cause the collapse of the American dollar and the end of the American financial system. We need to find another way. So there are some good reasons why people are doing this. But the reality is that this method of moving value from point A to point B has morphed. And now people are saying it's not just a way of buying and selling stuff or value. Now we can actually make money out of it. We can actually buy it and hope that it goes up in value, and then sell it to someone else. And yes, it'll be instant and all those things. But actually what we want to do is we want to make money out of that. So if you ask me my thoughts on Bitcoin at the moment, it's starting to be understood better by financial institutions. It's also starting to be traded through bigger financial institutions, which is a critical point, because these wallets that they've got, these crypto wallets and crypto platforms, are notoriously easy to hack. And the very nature of Bitcoin is that you actually don't know the name of the person who owns it. So if I steal your Bitcoins, you won't know who I am. And I've got them, you can't find me, I'm on my way. So if I find ways to steal lots of Bitcoins from lots of people, I can become a billionaire, and lots of people are doing it. And I have no way of being traced. As long as I don't get hacked and I can convert my Bitcoin to gold or to diamonds or to property or whatever the deal is, kind of a free and clear crime. So now the method of moving value has become an investment, and I think that's dangerous. So to me, what it's starting to look like is almost a store of value. And that sounds like semantics, but a store of value, another example, which is millions of years old, is gold. So if you look at gold, you would say gold's not linked to the dollar. It's not linked to the rand, the pound, the euro. It's just this thing. It's a lump of metal, I can give it to you, and you've got it, and you can give me something in exchange. So it's in a way to move value from point A to point B. It's not tradable. It doesn't have any marks on it. If you don't want them, you can melt it down, and it's absolutely certain that there is this much gold. It's a kilogram or whatever it is. But it doesn't generate rent, doesn't generate dividends, doesn't generate interest. So what I do is, if I buy gold, I'm hoping that I can find a time to sell it to you when you think it's worth more than what I paid. So it's simply a store of value. It's not a productive asset like a business or a property or a farm or something like that. I think that's where we've arrived for now with Bitcoin, is it's becoming the alternative to gold. It's becoming a way of protecting yourself from a collapse of other different kinds of financial systems. Is it a safe way? Is it going to be regulated literally to death? Is a good question, because what the kind of Bitcoin lovers don't answer the question about how much of Bitcoin is traded by people who do human trafficking, people that sell drugs, terrorists, Russian mafia, North Korean dictators, those kinds of things. Because some of the attraction of Bitcoin is that it's anonymous, is that it's easy to move, and we need to talk about that. And the other thing is, if you love the environment, you can't love Bitcoin, right? Because the amount of computing power that's required now to generate Bitcoins in a way, an environmental crime. So I feel probably we need to evolve it still to become either a store of value that everyone can use and it's safe and we're not dealing with terrorists and human smugglers and all of that stuff, or the financial system will come up with a better way of doing financial transactions that will kill Bitcoin. And then the governments, of course, don't want to be regulated out of existence, because that's what Bitcoin can do. If Bitcoin became a global currency, why would I pay tax? And how would the government force me to give them the money? How would they know I've got the money? So there is a threat to governments who maybe are reckless, who maybe aren't managing the financial system correctly, but there's some real human moral issues with Bitcoin at the moment.